and welcome everybody to this week's special session. So welcome, Mr. Kehinde Omisile is again someone who is very active in the NGO space and is going to share his unique story with us. So welcome, sir.
All right, Michael, it's an honor to be here. I think folks are asking for the link in the NEU. Maybe you can just post the link to them in the NEU.
Great.
Okay,
I'll do that.
Great. All right. So I'm happy to be here, and I hope everyone is keeping safe from the pandemic. Unfortunately, that's what we have to deal with here, right now. In December, Michael and I were still discussing the Global Excel Summit, but I mean, that one now we have to put it on hold. So in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to be sharing with us my Excel journey. Let me just share this screen so that we can start from there. Okay. Great. All right. Can you see this screen I'm sharing?
Yes,
Okay.
positive.
Okay.
Yes, you see your screen.
All right, so my Excel journey, like Michael said, most of my experience has been in the NGO space, non-profit sector, and I've worked on quite a number of projects, especially in the reproductive health, although I did entrepreneurship projects also. I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics and a master's degree in biostatistics and a lot of other courses, but basically, I've stayed in data analysis for a very, very long time. I'm sorry if I forgot to mention my name. I thought that people would have seen that. My name is Omisile Kehinde Omisile, and a lot of people call me Oken, which I'm very, very comfortable with, actually, because I just kind of crabbed all my three names into a short name with 2 syllables. And so most of my training has been in data analysis, especially research analysis, and I had to start moving gradually in that space. Let me just move ahead so that I don't bore you. These are some of the stuff that I tried to do over the years, thanks to my experience working with a lot of people like Michael, Victor, and all the folks in the Nigeria Excel users group, and of course people who are not in this group also. On the top right, you see the dashboard. I remember the first time I started working on this dashboard in 2017. Yeah, 2017, and I posted the WhatsApp chat analytics to the group. I was like, guys, you know that we talk more on this particular day of the week than any other day of the week. People were like, how is that possible? You know, because we have never had such back then. And what happened was I was just sitting there one Saturday and I just felt like this chart that we're doing, I mean, it's generating data, isn't it? And then that was WhatsApp back then, and WhatsApp made it easy for us to be able to export, you know, our chat history by email. So I just did the export, brought it to Excel, you know, did some data wrangling with Power Query, and then voila, started coming up with charts. So I posted the first few charts, and when everybody saw it, wow, everybody went, wow, it was so exciting and all of that, because that was the first time we were doing something like that. So I started developing likeness for it. So I did the first one using Excel, then I used Power BI. This one is Power BI. This Excel. This one here you see right here, I actually did it out of anger sometime this year, when in one of the groups I am, and actually a church group, to be candid, and I was trying to tell the admin to stop people from posting so many things to the group, but there was no way I could say it. So I had to say it using the only language I understand, which is analytics. So I did this dashboard out of anger and sent it to him. That's it. People post like 88 messages every day. How are we supposed to catch up with that? You know, fortunately, this did not change anything. They only want people and all of that. And of course, here I have Centograph. I'm sure people who have been in the Nigerian Excel users group for a long time, they will know about Centograph. I actually came up with the word Centograph because it never existed. And I'm sure some of you'll be wondering what is CentoGraph if you are meeting me for the first time. So let me just pick your brain. I'm sure you will relate with it very soon. You remember that stuff we hear from, what are they called now? These motivational speakers, that will tell you that success so if you make A1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z is 26, and you form words and add up the numbers. Success will give you this number, this one will give you that number, but attitude is the only one that will give you 100%. So when they said that, the kind of person I am, I thought about it. Is attitude the only word in the dictionary that will give me 100%? So I started to work. I set up the whole thing. I made a presentation of this in 2017 at the National Nigeria Exec Users Meetup. And then I started coming up with numbers. That was where I realized that, even the word Wednesday will add up to 100. So I started getting numbers, went online, found some words, found somebody who had done something similar using Python to pull all the words in English language. That's how I put them together, and that's what you're looking at now. So I needed a word to describe all of them, and the word I'm going to form will have the word cent in it, which we attribute to the word 100, and that's how I came up with CentoGraph. Because with CentoGraph, this Q, by the time you add up all the words in CentoGraph, they also add up to 100. So I came up with that, and then all the words you see here actually add up to 100. So I think we should sometimes you just have to tell motivational speakers to slow down, because some of the things they say, are just to kind of make people excited, but may not necessarily, be true, And of course, under here is one of the buzzwords. I remember Victor was talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Palindromes, he said it's one of the common buzzwords that we say in the group, when palindromes. So one of those days, I think it was sometime in 2018 or 2018, I guess, when one of those days was a palindrome, and I felt like, how many palindromes are between 1900 and 2101? How many dates, palindrome dates? So that set me to work, and I came up with this. I think I wrote an article on it on LinkedIn, and I found 39 palindromes. Well, like Victor would say, it depends on how you write the date. This 11/02/2011. So if you write the date another way, you may not get this, but at least it makes some sense to me. So those are just some of the little things I've been able to come up with. Some of these things we're looking at here, especially this particular one, is a lot of work. It's a combination of several skills that I have learned in Excel and data management over the years, and that's why we have this. Here you have charts and all of that. I'm going to go into that during the live demo. And then my regular day at work, I like to talk about my regular day at work. On a good day, I like to just categorize everything I do on a regular day into these 4 things. Management information systems administration takes a lot of my time. I do a lot of that daily. And then we have analytics and dashboards or reports. We prepare dashboards and reports, for different projects, for different channels of service delivery, and sometimes it might just be a report that is requested for, that is non-routine. And of course, most of those reports require a lot of data modeling, mainly because most of our data are not sitting on the same platform. So you have to bring data from multiple platforms into one place, so it requires a lot of data modeling, before you are able to come up with your dashboard and reports. And of course, ideation and meetings, come up with new ideas, throw them around, work with people on those new ideas. And then I've seen it actually make a lot of changes. In fact, the truth is, the last 2 years, I received an award for Outstanding Staff of the Year in the last 2 years, and I'm really grateful for that. Grateful to God for that, and I'm grateful to everyone in the Nigeria User group also for that, because they contributed. Most of the time, I have a question, go there to ask. And of course, a lot of times also somebody comes to ask a question, you are seeing it for the first time, while helping them to solve the problem. You also learn a lot along the way, So this is showing you what my Excel journey really looks like. Michael, are you there? I hope you can hear me clearly and you can see what I'm showing.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm even just posting the Nigerian Excel user group joining link so that people who are like, okay, you keep mentioning them, where can we be part of this community? So I've posted the link in the Q&A.
All right. Okay.
Ask questions, please also ask so that I can aggregate the question and pass to Mr. Kehinde later on.
All
So
right.
carry on.
Thanks a lot. All right. Thanks a lot. Okay. So this do I call it chart or I call it a journey that you're seeing on your screen actually shows what my journey learning Excel really was. And that was sometimes in 2003. We had this my statistical analysis course, statistics course. Can't remember the title of the course actually. I only learned how to make money out of the course. Can't remember the title of the course. I can't even remember. I don't even think I made a pay in that course actually, but at least I've made more than enough money from that single experience. I was a student of agric engineering, diploma in agric engineering back then, and so it was at ND2. I took that statistics course. I was so excited about it. I was like, wow, this is beautiful. So when it came to the time of projects and people were doing ANOVA, of course, we learned to do ANOVA by hand, do all the calculation and all of that. Now people had to take their ANOVA, analysis of variance, where you test. ANOVA is a statistical method for analyzing data. So people took that, they would take it out, people analyze for them using maybe SAS or SPSS and so on back then. Of course, I didn't even know any of those existed. So I now thought to myself that, is it not possible for Excel to do this? So that was the point I can remember so vividly. It was the time I can say I really started using Excel. So of course, I didn't have a PC. Back then, laptops were not common. So I made friends with somebody that owned a business center, so they will work all day. I will go there in the night and work all night till morning. When they come back, they will work all day. I will go back in the night to work all night till morning, and all of that. So I developed templates to kind of mimic, analyzing that Excel, that analysis of variance. I didn't even know Excel had data analysis tool back then. So I developed my own template for data analysis. So once I put in the numbers, Excel will run all the sum of squares, sum of square error, mean square of error, and all of that, and I'm able to generate the results, albeit manually. Of course, you have to also check the 4-figure tables, for the T distribution, F distribution, and so on. So from there, from learning how to do Excel with ANOVA, I discovered, I can't remember what led me to discovering it. I discovered the data analysis tool pack. I tried it with Excel. So for me to be sure that what I got was correct, one of my friends that went to do analysis with SAS back then, SAS is also a data analysis tool, a very major data analysis tool. I collected our data, I collected our results. I now tried them with Excel and the data analysis tool pack. Lo and behold, the result was exactly the same thing. That same day, I started a business on campus. Just printed a poster, put it up there, and told people that I was doing data analysis, that they can bring their data analysis and all that. I remember the first clients I had were 2 guys that came to knock on my door. I collected from them back then 2,215 naira. I still remember that amount. So from Excel, from the data analysis tool pack, my journey now began gradually into deeper into Excel. Actually, I went straight to more using Excel for electronic data capture, the design templates, for data capture, use it for data cleaning, which is one of the worst things to use Excel for. I will never advise anyone to try to use Excel for data cleaning. Maybe I'll mention that more as we go ahead. And of course, some calculations for data analysis, and then you prepare your reports. And I've written a number of articles on LinkedIn, about some of my experiences using Excel. In fact, on this data cleaning, I wrote an article, sorting almost ruined my career. I was working on a project back then, and while cleaning up the data, I sorted one column wrongly. So it's messed up the entire data. We didn't know that the data was bad until like a year or two later when the people that gave us money to do the project were going through the reports. So the thing was not making sense. By the time they came back, I had to go back to all the source data and all of that, trace my way back from the raw data to analysis, and I found that I had messed up the whole thing. It was very, very messy, you know. So that was when I learned my serious lesson that one of the worst things a person can ever do with Excel is to try to do cleaning of large volume of data with it. You know, there are other tools you can use to clean data. Power Query, I 100% recommend Power Query for data cleaning wherever you are pulling the data from, because one of the important things about data cleaning is what we call the audit trail. You know, you must keep a trail of what you did at each step of cleaning up the data before you have the cleaned data that you push into the data model for analysis. You know, you must have a trail, you must have that documented. So you can use Power Query, which of course, you know, keeps a trail of every step that you take, you know, in preparing your data. Or you can use any other analytical tool that uses syntax. I don't advise, as much as possible, I don't advise to use the graphic user interface for data cleaning. I don't advise it. If you want to do data cleaning, as much as possible, write syntax so that you can keep that syntax, so that if there is any problem with the data, you can always go through your syntax and know where the error came from. And when you have such data again, you can quickly run your syntax and clean up the data without wasting time, you know, trying to do the same thing all over again. So I use SPSS a lot for that, you know, and keep, in fact, most of the time I don't even keep the raw data, I just keep the syntax. You know, I don't even save the data at all. Once I save the syntax, I have everything. Every time I need that to reanalyze the data, I'll just use the syntax to pull in the data, run the syntax, analyze it, send the reports, and then clean up everything again. So from Excel, I learned to use SPSS. I've been using SPSS since version 9. I use version 25.9 now. I started using SPSS since 2006. Yeah, 2006. That was when I started using SPSS. So, but now I write syntax a lot and macros with SPSS for routine data analysis. And of course, I learned to use data also, especially when I was doing my master's program. You know, somewhere along the line, I remember using statistical and CSTAT also. So with Excel, I learned to use Power Query in Excel sometime in 2016. Yes, 2016 or 2016, I remember. You know, what happened was that I had this 3 gig of data downloaded from, I think, WHO website. I was running a research for a book, so I had this 3 gig of data. Of course, Excel could not open it. You know, of course, Excel cannot open that data. The data was more than the total number of rows, in Excel, so Excel could not open it. I even tried SPSS, but the thing kept running and you know, wouldn't happen. So I had to. So while learning, I think I did an online course somewhere along the line, Excel data analysis with Microsoft. That's when I got to know about Power Query, and I now put that data on Power Query, that 3 gig of data on Power Query. And Power Query was just crunching the whole thing as if it was nothing. I was like, wow, so this thing is possible. And it made my work very, very easy back then. So from there, I moved on. Of course, from Power Query, I used Power Pivot to run the analysis, you know, and then and then of course for data capture, like I said, sometimes I use Excel for electronic data capture, you know, build data capture templates where you use data validation to determine what kind of data enters into the cells, drop downs, and so on and so forth. You know, but I've also moved on from there because Excel, those sheets are not usually easily shared. And I strongly advise that if you really need to develop a tool to collect data, and that tool has to be Excel, you must validate the columns. Don't ever send an Excel file to anyone if the person is going to put any form of data into it to send back to you without validating that workbook. Please validate the worksheet, validate every cell, every work cell. If the number of items the person is going to be entering into a column is limited, for instance, you expect them to enter male, female into it, then make sure that column is validated to capture male and female, because the truth is, if you don't validate a worksheet before sharing it for data capture, you will do more work. In fact, you will do so much work trying to clean up the data that you get more confused. So along the line. So I strongly advise that anytime you want to share a worksheet, to anyone for data capture, make sure it is a validated and formatted worksheet. Log cells that need to be logged, hide columns that need to be hidden, but make sure it's validated so that when it's coming back, the data is 90% ready for data analysis. But if you don't do that, where you have male and female, some people will write M for you, another person will write male, everything lowercase, another person will write male, everything uppercase, another person will write male and put space somewhere there, like they might write M-A-L-E and then space. You won't even know that this male has space, that one does not have space. It's at the point when you're running your analysis, you now see all types of males appearing in your pivot table and you're wondering what's going on here. So I strongly advise when you validate like that, people are less likely to send you back rubbish. Another reason you have to learn to also validate is when you're collecting dates. If you don't validate an Excel template that will collect dates, I'm telling you the truth, you have really set up yourself for a big disaster. You have set up yourself for serious disaster, because people will start putting all kinds of dates they can imagine. And also don't forget that the way Excel captured dates will differ from one system to another because of the settings. Your own system might be set to collect dates in maybe UK format. Another person's system is set up to collect it in maybe American format. Another person has set up his own system to collect dates in maybe year, month, day format. So by the time it gets back to you, you now have to start working on trying to understand which is which. And imagine that you have a date that's supposed to be maybe 6th of July, but now it's appearing to you as 7th of June. That's 7/6 instead of 6/7. So you are likely to make a lot of mistakes. So always learn to validate your sheets if you're going to send them out. I'll give you a few tips on that when I get to the live demo. So, but if you don't want to use Excel to capture data, which I strongly will not recommend, except the data is small. If it is small, very small, you can use Excel to collect your data. But if it's a lot of data that you're collecting from multiple locations, I strongly advise that you use any mobile data collection tool. In web form is fine. Google Forms, Microsoft Forms, those are fine. But over the years, I've used CS Pro. We have used CS Pro for large surveys because the surveys are large and complex. If the data collection is large but not complex, you can use Google Forms, Microsoft Forms, and so on. But if it is large and complex is this that there are hierarchies in the data and all of that. I strongly advise I use tools like maybe CS Pro. You can use EpiInfo also, and then you can use ODK. I've used all of these, very well. ODK is actually supposed to, EpiInfo is supposed to be part of this DHIS2. It's supposed to be like an all-in-one also. So let me just add it to all-in-one. EpiInfo is also all-in-one, because you can use it for data capture, you can use it to clean up your data, and also you can run analysis and reports in it. The same thing with DHIS2 for data capture. Of course, you don't need to clean the data most of the time, because it has everything is already standardized there, and you use it for analysis. A lot of analytics on DHIS2. I use DHIS2 every other day on the office, and of course QGIS for spatial analysis and Power BI. So these are some of the tools that I use very regularly. And because of the buzz and because the data is becoming bigger and larger and smarter and everything, and things are becoming more real time. So I've been pushing my work further and further into more of programming, some level of programming. Like someone said that data analysts are not programmers, and that's one of the good news that somebody wants to do, because when we learned to analyze data, programming wasn't really part of the deal. I mean, SPSS, you just run syntax, write a lot of syntax. You can write a syntax, thousands of rows, or that's not really considered programming, but some of the principles are similar. You know, although I took some programming courses while in school, I did VB.net and yeah, VB.net when I finished school, but because I didn't have projects in that direction, so I couldn't really go deeper into it. That's why it's easy for me. I can read a code. When you write a code, I may not be able to write it from scratch, but I can read it and modify it to get to do what I want to do. So usually when you write a VBA code, most of them I can read them and modify them as I want, you know, and get the kind of output I want, you know, because of my training VB.net. So that's my journey. 2003, I start Excel. ANOVA started me in Excel, and then 2016 was when I met Michael and I did one of his courses online, and that was really very, very interesting for me also. You know, I did this Microsoft Excel training back then. I still have it on my CV till today. You know, the Excel training that Michael did for us, and that was the same year I learned to use Power Query and Power Pivot. Although Michael didn't teach us Power Query and Power Pivot, I learned to use them when I did the Microsoft Excel training via with Microsoft on, I think, EDX. And then in 2017 at the meetup, also, you know, I met the meetup, the Nigerian Excel users meetup, and that's where I came up with the idea of the Central Crack, and I made that presentation there. And 2020, that's where we are right now. You know, we use Excel every day. All right, so in the next slide, I'm just showing you some of the things I do with Excel every other day. Sorry, it might look a little bit clumsy. Research, data wrangling, which is a lot of this happen in Power Query, some statistical analysis once in a while for regression analysis, actually, when I'm trying to do some little bit of forecasting that's not too robust. So Excel, I can use some Excel for that. And of course, data modeling, pulling data and running schemas on Excel. I've done HR analytics with Excel, some level of data capture, just little templates that don't capture so much of data, just share that around also. So we should still use Excel for that. And some business solutions that require not enterprise level business solutions anyway, but at least business solutions that help us to be able to get some level of decision making in the work we do. So I developed the business solutions also with Excel. Oh, I wrote it twice. That means it's very, very important to me. And of course, I build a lot of templates, very lovely looking templates, you know, with Excel in the office regularly, and of course outside once in a while when I get some of the side also, we just call you up and say, oh, I need you to help me do this, you know. And dashboards, build dashboards and reports with Excel. And chart analytics is something I learned to teach myself how to do chart analytics, and of course a lot of visualization. I think I mentioned research also. So that's my Excel journey till today. This is my approach to learning Excel, try and error, which of course everybody does try and error. And I was so excited to learn that even some of the very best people that we look up to these days still do try and error. Sometimes they'll tell you that they have to try. I remember the guys on Guy in the Cube on YouTube, and the SQL BI guys. You know, they tell you that sometimes some of the things we see them just do, you know, as if they did it in a breath. Sometimes they have to write several times before they're able to make sense of it. And of course, I learned from the internet. You Google for a question, maybe there's something you're trying to do. You're trying to figure out, how do I get to do this thing? And then you can't remember, you don't really know how to go about it. Just Google it. Google has a lot of repository for that, and thankfully people are willing to share, you know. So and so you can do that. Of course, attend trainings also online. A lot of online trainings are also useful, and YouTube. You know, I look at YouTube every other day. You know, most of my things I look at are tech things, latest technology, things in of course Excel stuff posted by Leila Gerano posts. Victor's blog Victor's channel has been very busy lately. So every time Victor posts, we have to go and look at it, because Victor has a unique way of helping you to understand complex stuff. So, and of course, blogs, Chandu's blog. In fact, I realized I have a whole folder for Chandu on my desktop, where I put some of his stuff. I like the guy. Yeah, so Chandu, and like I said, SQL BI, because a lot of my work is moving further and further into business intelligence and business analytics. So I have to really push. So it was a little bit of a difficulty, to be candid. We're moving from research analysis into pure data, more into data analysis. When I say research now, or let me say statistical analysis, all the statistical stuff that we're doing, deeper into the new trends, where you have more data analysis, and the statistical part is not really as much as the normal data analysis that we have today. So, and of course, books. I learned to read books on Excel also. Books have a way of helping you to not, because well, the first three learning styles, try and error, internet, and blogs, they will help you to gain scope. You'll be able to gain a wide array of knowledge that you can practice and all of that. And of course, coupled with that is practice, routine practice. It's also one of the ways I learn, which maybe I can put that under try and error. But books help you not just to gain breadth, you gain depth by reading books on a particular subject. That's why I really like to read books on any subject that's important to me. Excel dashboard and reports, one of the books I've been reading for a while now, and it helps me to gain depth, in those subjects. Of course, I know these things on the surface, but when you either buy a book or download a book, or somebody gives you a book on that subject, you gain depth in it. You understand the fundamental principles, and then you are able to apply those principles better. And that's why I would strongly, advise that as you explore your practice and try and error, as you explore the internet and explore blogs, if possible, sit down and read books. Victor is one of those persons that really motivated me to reading books. He never even mentioned it that he reads books, but with my interaction with him over the years, I realized the depth with which Victor knows his subjects. When Victor is discussing his subject, you will see the depth with which he discusses them. And I know that you cannot have that kind of depth if you have not read enough. You can't have that kind of depth by looking at blogs and the internet and all that. You must have taken your time to sit down and read. So when I saw that, of course, I am the kind of person that likes to read. I read a lot. Every year I have a target of reading a minimum of 20 books. That's my annual target. So so I do that. So I read, these are some of the books I'm reading currently: the Dashboard and Report, Business Analytics, Customer Analytics, Predictive Analytics, are some of it. So in fact, I dedicated the first half of 2020 to reading. I have not attended any training this year. Most of what I've focused on is just to read, so I can gain depth of my subjects, and be able to apply them more appropriately. So that's basically my Excel journey. And I think after now, I would like to go into the live demo. Okay, so this is the demo I'd like to do with us. This dashboard that we created, I built for the Nigeria Excel users participation dashboard. I'm going to show us the back end and how all of this come to be. So do I have any question that I can answer before I go ahead, Michael?
Awesome. Currently now, no, I guess the people in just absorbing all what you're saying so far. Usually we're used to notice that questions come a bit late into the session. Okay. I'm trying to cross post, so I'm posting in different groups and trying to see if questions come up in any other place. So you can carry on.
All right, great. Okay, great, thanks. Okay, so so this dashboard, like I mentioned when I started talking about this, I started working on this. The first time was in 2017 when I first started doing was chat analytics, chat group analytics, and it's been fun. I must say, it's been a lot of fun, doing that, coming up with something like this. So this has a lot of items in it. I'm not going to build the entire thing. I'm just going to walk us through how to get this data, the data for this, wrangle it with a Power Query, bring it into Excel environment, and then build the dashboard to look like this. At the top here you have the scorecards, and these are actually cube functions that I use at the top to make all of this. At the top you have the cube functions and all of that. So I think instead of talking, let's just go into this. So what I want to do is I have a chat room, Nigeria Excel chat room. Let me just show you what that chat room looks like. Okay, this is what that chat room looks like. Okay, here you go. All right, so you can see the chat room is actually live right now. Everybody is talking about what we're doing at the moment. So these are Nigeria Excel users chat room, and so I learned how to download data from this chat room, to bring it live, and put it into a dashboard that looks like this. So we're going to be moving from that chat room, from this chat room, we're moving into this. Yeah, we're going to move into this dashboard, where I'm able to look at it, let's say by month. January 2019, what happened in the chat room. Okay, it's pulling in. Okay, great. So February 2019. All right, so this is the number of chats. So we had, as at February 2019, we had 77 users in the group, and 77 users in the group. We have 41 active in February, 2 videos back then, 38 pictures in that group back then, 3 web links, 5 files, 1 joiner in the month, and then total number of posts was 627 back then. And of course, here I have, okay, this, because this is showing, okay, let me just push this. Okay, great. So this showing the trend of charts within the month, by period, by day of the month, so by days of the month, so you can see the trend of charts, back then. And of course, by time of the day, this is showing by time of the day, from the 1st hour to the 23rd hour. So this shows that most of the charts in February happened around 5 p.m. In February 2019, and in February 2019 we did a lot of chatting on Fridays, back then. And of course, that February, these are the top 10 contributors to the team. Is Victor, where I have to. So that means 41% of the chats in February 2019. Victor contributed that. I added another 18%. Oladele added 8%. Olakuni Babajide added another 6%, and then we had Dubem, we had Stephen Wadilo. Stephen has disappeared. We hope somebody will bring him back again, and so on and so forth. And of course, when I look at this for the entire year in 2019, so by the end of the year, we had 502 users in the group. Towards the end of the year, we're looking at about 216 active users. 50 videos had gone into the group, 449 pictures, 71 web links. Okay, let me bring this down to the months. Okay, so we see the trend by month. And we had 101 files, 396 joiners during the period, 9,134 posts into the group. And of course, this is showing us the trend of chat as the months went by. Towards the end of the year, a lot of chats happened more towards the end of the year. And of course, this time, our 24-hour clock is saying that we did a lot of chatting more towards the end of the day, between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. Especially, it was highest around 9 p.m., also high around 5 p.m. And then so chats happen 24 hours from what I've seen in the group. That's why we have all of these here. But You know, they happen more when people are at work and then towards the end of the day. 2019, it hits around 9 p.m. You see a lot of activity in the group. And of course, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, most of our chats happen Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you know, which has been a very great trend. I'm not sure I have any 2020 data. No, I don't have any 2020 data. I was trying to update this for 2020, but I think my Google Chrome crashed. So I'm trying. I'm going to fix that. I will tell you why Google Chrome is important. So how did I come about all of this? You know, so from the chat group, there's an add-on to Google Chrome for downloading charts from Telegram. So unlike WhatsApp, where you can email yourself the chat history, for Telegram, there's an add-on. I'm so sorry. I was trying to get that, but my Google Chrome crashed earlier today, so I'm not able to get the add-on. It's been a while since I last used it, so I'm not able to get it right now. I've been trying to open Chrome since morning. It's not opening. So there's an add-on. Once you open Chrome, you can search for it in the Google Chrome add-ons. You can just search for that app for Telegram, for downloading Telegram chats, you know. And when you do that, the chart will come out some like this. Okay, I think my Chrome is opening, but I don't want to go into that because I didn't prepare it. So the chart comes out somehow like this. 1 minute, I'm trying to. All right, so it comes out like this. Okay, great. So you see it comes out like this, of course. So these are all the charts. This is what the chart looks like as people begin to charge. So I have this from the 7th of March 2018 all the way down up to February 2019. Okay, I guess I will have to just check my 2019 there in the stuff. So up to February 2019, I guess. So everything, every chart, every message, every link is stored, you know, as data. So that's where I see it, you know. Every emoji, everything comes out, you know, in this format. So the next thing is just for me to be able to break this apart, to be able to tell, okay, who was the one who posted the chart, what is the date, at what time of the day, what did the person say? Do we have a link in the chart? Do we have an image in the chart? Do we have a file in the chart? Do we have a video in the chart? So let me take you back to Excel to show you how I pulled all of this together. All right, so sharing my, okay, let's go back to Excel, where I will show you how I pulled all of that. Okay, so the first thing is, like I mentioned, is from Power Query. So from data to I'm under the get and transform section. So I'm pushing launch Power Query editor. So the Power Query editor comes up. Please, if you have any question, you can just ask as this goes on.
Okay, yeah, I'm even monitoring. I just hope you will not get a barrage of questions towards the last minute.
Okay.
I think that happened in the last session too. I mean, the one I just finished today. The questions started coming in like 5 minutes to the end.
All right, great. So where's my, I think I'll just close Chrome for now. Oh, okay. Let me see, open Chrome so I can tell you the name. The name of the add-on is Save Telegram Chat History. I think that's the name of the extension I mentioned the other time. So what you have to do for that to work, let me just do chat.telegram.
Also, maybe just to put some kind of interesting context to what you are taking us through. Okay. Interestingly, 2 weeks ago, someone that we did training for in January, who runs a pharmaceutical. It's a kind of very funny, or not the usual setup. Let me not say funny, unusual setup in terms of they're an association of pharmaceutical small business owners, and so for him, you know, in pharmacy, in this FMCG, even if you are small, the volumes you are pushing are always significant because you know typically everything are selling at 20 naira, 100 naira, 200, and so a 10 million naira sales a month can come up to huge volumes compared to someone selling something in. And so they have many of those kind of people. And then, so what was his major issue that he wants to solve for the team, that he notices that happens across all of them, even those who you will typically say they are really small, they have the problem too, is the fact that all their transactions, so the sales, the money they are being held by customers, there are also things like maybe you give rebate or discount, different price for different category of customers, and all of these things are information that the business already have because they are lucky by the association they've been able to identify a software that they can use to keep their data. So that's no longer their problem. So the same way that Telegram is keeping record of all these things that you might not call them transactions, but they are actually activities that are important that one wants to see. So he wants to see a lot more than just him, him having to ask first, okay, I want to see how much one person is owing us, and then he has someone who works directly with him and does that. And the person will now go and take like 1 hour or 1 day to go and show it to him. But you know what you're doing now, where there's like a dashboard that all those activities. So for those of you that you work in companies, that you have transactional data that is meaningful. Even recently, a training that I had for someone 2 days ago was reconciliation. And for her, she always thought about it in terms of matching the transactions. But then she started having ideas that what if I'm able to show even where failures are coming from, which time of the day, like you said, which time of the day are we getting more transactions? What if I'm able to show by percentage, the same way you're able to say Victor contributed this percentage, you contributed that percentage, those kind of things. I want our audience to start thinking of it also in what is relevant to them. They shouldn't just be thinking that this is abstract. It is not, because if they think of their own data that way too, they will see that if someone can do this with Telegram, it's the same concept you will apply for regardless of your own space. And they should use this opportunity to start asking if they see anything that looks fine. Any chat that looks fine, you better ask. If you ask us after, we will make it a long process for you. You better ask him right now. So I just wanted to point that out.
All right, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Okay, so let me just mention this. Thanks a lot for that, Michael. The truth is, most of the data that we work with, sometimes they don't come in the format that we are able to analyze immediately. So you have to kind of create, they call it order out of chaos. That's the kind of thing. That's why, because normally not everybody will think that a chat group can actually become a dashboard. Not everybody, we easily look at it that way. But when you are used to working with data that looks like that is chaotic, and then you're able to create order out of it, and of course that's what we basically do in science generally. From my own training in mathematics, we do a lot of that. You look at maybe a set of numbers, a set of real numbers. It looks like chaos to you. Then you begin to study them, understand their pattern. Then you do the commutative properties, the multiplicative properties, additive properties. Look at, okay, when you add this and this, what does it give you? When you multiply, what do they get? So before you know it, you are able to now create, so this is what these numbers look like. So on the set of real numbers, you pull out some, you call them integers. You say, these are integers because they are always whole numbers. They represent count. And then you call some positive integers, negative integers, non-negative integers. There are so those you call natural numbers. Because out of looking at the way numbers behave in general, you're able to give structure. You are able to create order out of what looks like chaos. And that's what we do generally in science. creating order out of chaos. Number will come mumbo jumbo, it's a lot, you don't even know how to make sense of it. The first thing you have to do, just look at it. Sometimes they have pattern. Although most of the data we work with these days, especially more and more into big data analytics, you realize some of the data you work with don't have any pattern. Especially when you begin to come to analyzing text, text analytics, or sentiment. When you go into sentiment analysis, and even with sentiment analysis and text analytics, you are still trying to create order out of chaos. Or when you look at video, when you are trying to analyze video, facial expressions, and so on. All of these things are just our attempt, in science and technology to create order out of. Once you are able to create order out of the chaos, you are able to predict. But when you are not able to create any kind of order out of it, you are not able to get into level of prediction and all of that. So I think I just got this chat history from our WhatsApp group, and sorry, it already seems to have structure, from here. But of course, from what I showed you the other time, it's just a chat. It's just a chat group. It doesn't have any structure. Doesn't have any order. Doesn't seem to have anything to it. But thankfully for the extension for the Chrome, it's only available on Microsoft Chrome. Unfortunately, you can just search for it. Save Telegram chat history, and then you open web.telegram.org. Log into your chat room, and then just click on that icon to download. It will start downloading the chat history from that group, from whatever period to whatever period you specify. It will download them into a text file, and then, although I think there's also CSV, but because I recognize that sometimes when people type, they use comma in their chats, so I would rather not use CSV. I think it's safer to just use text, where you have where the data are separated by tab. All right, so let's move straight into this. So when I downloaded the data and then it comes in, so because of the format I chose, the source is actually from my desktop anyway, and I'm able to look at it like this. All right, so these are the choices. It sees this as a CSV document, and then I bring it in, browse, bring it in, the delimiter. Okay, yeah, I remember I used semicolon as a delimiter while downloading the data using that app. I use semicolon as a delimiter. So each column is separated by a semicolon, and so here now it breaks it into 3 columns for me, no names. The column 1 generally seems to have the names of the persons in the chat room, and then in second column I have the date and time. You have the day, the month, the year, the hour, the minute, and the second. And on the left I have the charts themselves and everything they posted. So what I'm trying to do now is to be able to, so I need to just rearrange them, pull out a number of things, clean 1 or 2 things up, so that it has the kind of structure that I have. So let me just take you through what of some of the steps I took before I was able to get the clean data. So first, of course, it attempts to change the data type. Power Query attempts to change data type, and it ended up giving them all text, as you can see up here, and then removed empty rows. So I removed the 2 blank empty rows at the top, and then the next thing was to rename the columns. So I renamed this column message. That's the last one. Renamed it message. I renamed this column user, called it user. And then I needed to split this column also into date and time. And if you look at it carefully, you will see there's a pattern. And the pattern is that in the middle here, I have space. There is space. There is no space anywhere else. So that makes it very easy to just split this into 2 columns. So I split by delimiter, and then I'm able to split the day, the date from the time. So I now have user, I have the dates, the time and the message. So change their types. I have this now, replace value. So the replace value was just remove the bracket in front here. I'm going to do the same thing to this one also. I replaced the one for this, so the brackets here are gone, and they have filtered them. I filtered the rows for blanks. I remove everything that is blank in the columns. So Why that is important is because there are people, when they send out their messages, those messages can go into multiple lines, like these ones here. These messages have gone into multiple lines. So some of these lines, I really don't need them. The first line will always give me the name of the person that sent the chat, the date, the time, and what they said, at least most of what they said, not everything. But when you send a chat that is multiple lines, then it splits into multiple lines like this. So I'll just, once I remove these empty lines, those ones will be gone. So that's why I did that filter, and all those ones, have been taken care of. Great. So the next part is to change the data types. This data type has been changed to time. I renamed it to time, and then I think I split this by another delimiter. So I have the day, the month, and the year. I split this into 3: day, month, year, and change the data types to whole numbers actually, and reorder them. So I have the month first, the date, and then the year. Okay, match them, and then I have my dates. So because when I had tried to, the data type that my system recognized back then is the US format, where you have the month, year, month, day, year. But the data came as day, month, year format. Day, month, year format. But my system recognizes it, Power Query will recognize month, day, year format. So what I did was to split them using the dots in between, split them, rearrange the columns, and then match them again. So I split them into three, rearrange them so that I now have them. I have the month in front, the day, and the year, and then match them again. So you have 3/7/2018, and change the data type, and voila, it gives me the dates. That's 7th of March 2018. Okay, I think I also had to do another filter also for that. Okay, so we change the data type, and okay, so okay, then of course some of the other steps I took were just to clean up what I have in the data. For instance, some of the names, they have these multiple dots in front, so I had to replace them. I use replace all the multiple dots into empty, for the user column, and of course rename. I think I renamed the column there. Okay, I renamed the date to period so that it will be easy, so that when I start using time intelligence, I'll be able to differentiate them. All right. Trimmed text. Okay, did some trimming just to clean up. Did some cleaning up. Trimmed text. Did clean up the text up here. Just did trim using a format here. So this trim and clean. So just apply that to this column. All right, and then I replaced some values also, because when I first ran the analytics, I saw that certain names appeared multiple times. So I needed to just replace so that they are the same thing all over. Like I saw Oken 482, 4812, this. So I replaced that with 4812 so that everything would just be 4812, So that was replaced, and then I had then also I did another replace. There was a user called user, just called user, so call that deleted. I did another filter there, removing duplicates, like if peradventure there's any room. The reason I did that was because at the point of importing the data, I felt, because this data didn't happen once, I was importing them every other month. Every month I was updating. So it was possible that maybe I imported the same data multiple times. I needed to just clean that up. Okay. And then did some more replace for certain names that appeared multiple times. And then I think there's undefined Charles Otogile. I changed it back to Charles Otogile. So Charles, that's what I did do. Initially you were undefined. I made it Charles Otogile because I know Charles is listening to this. And of course, more clean up here and there and so on. So let me just check what I did. Okay, so for this now, I needed, okay, so this is where I missed out the 2020 data. I changed the period to anything before December 1st. So I'm going to remove that filter right now because I no longer need it. All right, so that's the end of the data cleaning. Everything I explained in the last few minutes, depending on the level of skill you have. Of course, as you look at the data, look at the pattern of things, you look around and say, okay, I need to change this. So it could take hours before you get here. So those are all the steps of just shaping it. At the end of the day, I have 4 columns: the user, the period, the time, and the message. All right. So that takes me, and of course, I load that into Excel, and it gives me this. Michael, please, you are shaking the table. I can see you are strongly shaking the table.
I want just to tell our people, I didn't want to interrupt, but you know what I said, all the questions are coming now. And then for some people who didn't maybe catch it, that thing you are walking them through, that's Power Query.
That's
So
Power
those
Query.
who have always been like, yeah.
All right, so that was Power Query for bringing the data in. Power Query is very, very awesome, and I strongly recommend it. Anytime you want to bring in data into Excel, data that you are not familiar with, maybe you are using for the first time, I strongly advise that you use Power Query to pull it in. You know, instead of working with the raw file itself, just keep the file wherever it is. Use Power Query to go and bring the data from the file into Excel. Power Query is very robust, has ability to bring data from a lot of sources. I mean, from this get data from files, from Excel, from text or CSV, from XML files, from JSON, from a folder or from a SharePoint folder, and from several databases, from Azure, online services, and of course from other sources, from a table range, even from within a workbook. You can bring that from web, and even you can have a blank query and build it from scratch. So Power Query is very, very robust. I strongly advise it. If you are bringing in data to Excel that you're using for the first time, I strongly advise that I use Power Query. So my data has been loaded. I've been able to load 19,456 rows into the data model. So this actually what happened. So at the point of loading, load to, this is actually the option I have. It asks me to either load to a pivot table or report table and then add it to a data model. So the first time I loaded the data, I loaded straight to a pivot table because I needed to just create pivot tables back then, you know. And then when you load it to a data model, when you load your data into a data model, that's when you'll be able to see the data in Power Pivot. You know, that's when you'll be able to see the data in Power Pivot. But if you don't load it to a data model, you will still be able to use the data to some extent. You will just have maybe a connection. You can load it to a table where you have a table of the data itself, you know, sitting in Excel. Maybe the table is what you want to share, or you can load it to or you can only create a connection to the data source. When you create a connection to the data source and also load it to a data model, the data will be in Power Pivot for you to use, and then you can still run a lot of analysis with it, and the data will not be loaded into your worksheet, you know, which I really prefer to load it to just create a connection. I'll load it to into the data model. When you load it into the data model, this is what it looks like in Power Pivot. So Power Pivot is already available for me on Excel, and I think if you use Office 365, you can always enable it. Let me not go into that, sorry. Let me just finish with this. I think other people have actually covered this topic. I really want to focus on this dashboard. So let me just focus on what the Power Pivot looks like. So this is what the data looks like that I brought in. These were the initial 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, that I brought in. And then the next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to tell, okay, who are the joiners? When did this person join the platform? I wanted to be able to pull out a number of things. I'll mention, these are some of these other time instances that came in during data analysis. So I have the user common. You You can see Victor Momo is just appearing everywhere. So these are the list of names of everyone on the platform as at the last time I loaded data from there. The period, the time, and then the message, what everybody posted. So for the joiner, I wanted to be able to tell when did this person join. Okay, so when a person joins the platform, I noticed looking at scanning through the data, I noticed that this is the message that appears against their name. It says unsupported service message type, message action chat joined by link. So whenever anybody joins the chat, the group by any link, this is what appears against their name. So that helps me to be able to tell that this person is a joiner. So once I did that, all I did was just to write a simple DAX formula to say, to create a new column and identify all joiners and say 1 times, that's the message equal to this message that I posted here. So this is supposed to, everything I have in here is supposed to give me true or false. True or false. But I need it to just appear as 1 and 0. So I multiplied it by 1. I multiplied that true or false. That's message equal to this text. Once it's equal to this text, I get a true or false. And then multiplied by 1 gives me 1 and 0. So if you filter this for 1, you will see, all right, you can see all of this now. It tells me the date of this person joined on this date, 4 a.m., around 4 a.m. This person joined on this date at about this time and all of that. So that's what I had back then. I think I should just clear up. Yeah, Michael.
Yes, I wish I don't have to say this, but I just felt the more I keep delaying it, the more problematic or the worse it will be to handle it.
Okay.
So we have gone above our time, but what you are saying is so interesting and everybody's engrossed.
Wow, so sorry.
Yeah, even on the other session. So I just want to ask should I read the questions we have, and then maybe we give you like 10 more minutes,
10 minutes
to answer
finish up.
and also, yeah. So
all right,
should I read the questions?
All right, let's have the questions.
What about your questions? So I know you will not do it within maybe 10
minutes to
max,
finish up.
Maybe 12 minutes. You combine.
All right, I'll just mention all the other things you just been mentioned. So I'll just mention them. I usually share this workbook, so I can share this workbook. You can look at it yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So let me read the questions. As I said, questions. Another person has popped in his own. Okay, no problem.
All right. Okay.
Let me start. The first person to ask. Okay, so someone is saying, awesome, Chief. How did you decide what presentation to use for visualization? So when this person asked, I'm guessing he's asking it in relation to, that time when you showed us the different analysis tools. But anyway, I'm guessing maybe that's the background. But the question is, how do you decide what presentation to use for visualization? So that's one question. Okay. Do you want to answer it, or I should go to the next one?
All right. Okay. You can just read them out. Read them out.
So this one is how do you decide what presentation to? Okay. So that's question 1. Okay. Then question number 2 is the person saying great dashboard and thanks Michael for. Okay, this one is like a comment. Thanks for expatiating on the need for this. Okay, so thank God that's not a question. The person is just commenting. Then another one is I think this is. I don't know how you phrase it, but I think the person wants you to say something. So, but he or she wrote it as a statement. Says, okay. I work in a non-for-profit making organization.
Okay.
I'm a nursing mother. I type professionally because I did typewriting way back as a subject in secondary school. It's one of my best hobbies.
Okay. Apparently, I think that's all. So that's not really like a question, right? Yeah, Michael. Oh, okay.
It is the background and then
so Michael, I lost you.
I know the person is typing multiple times.
I lost you.
Oh, okay.
There.
Okay.
So what you
Let me
read?
just, somebody was calling my, okay. So let me read it again. So you said, I work for a non-for-profit organization. I'm a
Okay.
nursing mother. I type professionally because that's what I did way back in secondary school, and it's one of my best hobby. I think it's the same person, but wrote it as a separate text. I love
Okay.
Excel and want to exploit more. Please advise. And then the person is somewhere else, maybe him or someone else, but I'm suspecting the same person says, I'm an accountant by profession. So that's one
Okay.
way. I think that's the question. I thought it was different persons before. So I think it's the same person, but that's not the person's question.
All right,
Thank
great.
you.
All right. So for the first question, the truth is, how do I decide what visualization to use for a presentation? One of the rules of thumb, which will actually lead me to something I was supposed to have done, which I unfortunately I forgot, is this. I remember back then when I attended Michael's training. One of the first things that you learn in Michael's training is this, which I'm presenting right now. Can you see the presentation? Okay, I guess this is the one you're seeing. All right. Always start with the end in view. Anytime you want to work on a project, just sit back and think about, okay, what do you want people to be able to see at the end of the day? You know, the moment you begin to design your data collection, from the moment the moment you begin to maybe design how this data will be collected, how the data will be used, look at it from the end and say, okay, how will this data be used? Who is going to use it? How am I going to present it? For me, I like it to be as simple as possible, something that someone can read. And some of the rules of thumbs is the fact that if it's something that has to do with trend over time, that has time, with it, it's always good to use maybe a line graph or a line chart, that runs, over time, that shows you how things are changing over time. But if maybe the time instance is not a lot, for instance, we are looking at something just within 12 months, just 12 months. A bar chart is not bad, to just show how things are changing up and down. So bar charts too are good for presenting sort of things. Then when you want to compare two things, two or more groups, let's say you have you want to compare let's say exactly two things, male and female. A pie chart is fine for that. I mean, but the only problem we have with pie charts, which research has showed over and over, is that a lot of people find it difficult interpreting a pie chart. Even despite the fact that when you look at it, it shows that when somebody has more slice of cake than the other, some people, it's still difficult for them to be able to understand that logic. That's why I'd rather, instead of presenting something in pie chart, if you can just put the numbers there and say, okay, the males add 200, the females add 50, that's fine. Or if you can use a column chart or a bar chart to present that, that's fine. So some of these things, I would like to stop there. There are so many visualizations that you can use, but some of them you master them with practice. As you practice, you master them. So I would like to stop on that. But to choose which one is appropriate, sometimes you put it, you go draw back and look at it very well and say, okay, are you able to make sense of these things? If you are able to make sense of it, you can also ask someone else to look at it and say, are you able to make sense of this? If the person is not able to make sense of it, ask them for a feedback. When they give you a feedback, then you make the changes, and then you have mastered the art at that point. That's the way I see it. You get. So, but also avoid any 3D chart. If you are putting it in a report for decision making, let's say you are putting together a report that maybe a manager or a director will look like, please don't put anything 3D in it. You are wasting their time. One, they don't have that time to be processing a 3D chart that it has northwest, it has X, Y, and Z axis and all of that. Make it 2D, straight, bar chart. If it means you have to break your bar chart into multiple for them to grasp it, it's better than putting a 3D a 3D chart. And of course, second is always that if you start in the wrong direction, don't expect that you find yourself where you're supposed to be. But let me quickly answer the second person. How do I explore more? The truth about Excel is I don't think anybody else, we can say, oh, this person has truly gained the mastery of Excel. Why did I say so? You only use Excel to answer the questions that come to you regularly. For Michael now, Michael uses Excel a lot these days for financial modeling. I don't know, but I'm just saying, I don't think Michael has ever used Excel for analysis of variance. I don't know. I'm just saying, someone like Victor, I've never heard Victor use the word analysis of variance, because maybe he doesn't use it for it, and of course, most of the other guys that we see online, they don't even mention things like that they're using it for research. So it depends on the area of expertise. Since you're an accountant, it implies that you're going to be using Excel a lot, for maybe for financial modeling, for forecasting, and so on and so forth. So I would strongly encourage that, because you're an accountant, you don't even have a choice than to use Excel. I think I just put that way. You don't have a choice than to use Excel. The only thing is practice. Find every excuse to use Excel daily. Learn every day. One of the good ways I found for learning is to ask questions. Join a group like the Nigerian Excel Users Group. Ask questions. Oh, I have this thing I want to do. How do I do it? People ask such questions every day. Even those of us that are not accountants, sometimes we are able to help and say, oh, why not to do it this way? But by the time they begin to ask about budgeting templates and so on and so forth, we just step back and allow the accountants to answer them. So people ask questions. So how do I do this? How do I do that? And the tools are just there in Excel to give you as many skills as possible. So don't try to become a master in one day. I have been doing this since 2003. So you can imagine how far I have come with this. So, but every day, practice something, learn something new, and I think you can get a good hang of it. So that's that. So I think I've been able to answer those questions, Michael.
Yes. Let me just beg small. Someone said we should not disturb you. We should let you finish your presentation and not.
All right.
That my worry is the session we have.
I know. So I'll try and finish it in 10 minutes. I'll try and finish.
Then so I also want to. I want to ask. So two people asked more questions, but I've told them they should move their question to the Telegram group, because
they should move it to the Telegram group.
I've been begging them to ask questions since. Now at the end, asking questions.
Please,
so let me just read two.
Okay.
Okay. Let me just, if you can, let me just read them. I think two. I think one says, how was your? You mentioned that you also used to also consult as an entrepreneur for other people. So he's asking how.
Michael, I'm losing you there. I can't hear you.
Like, what were the challenges?
I didn't really get the question because I think the internet was going up and on. So Michael, you know what? Let's just put it in the chat group. Let's put it in the chat group so that I can finish up with this. You have another presentation, so you can be fully.
All right then. Okay, I agree.
All right, please. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks a lot. All right, so let me finish this quickly. So I needed to create a number of things from the data from where we stopped. So I have the users, the list of users, the period, and the message they gave. So I wanted to know how many active users do I have in the group. Now, the definition of active user is if the person either joined or posted in the group within the last 1 month, within the last 30 days of whichever period I choose. All right, so I wrote these DAX to do that. Like I said, I will share this. Unfortunately, I can't really explain much of this now because of time. So, and of course, I needed to know how many files were shared in the group. People share files a lot. Somebody needs help with something, they will send in a file. All right, so I observed that in the messages, there are certain items that are called documents, and they have that braces on them. Let me see. Okay, so you can see that are called documents, there. So when I observed that made it very easy. You can see documents, you can see them, all these documents with different sizes. All right. So with that, it was so easy for me to just say, okay, take the left, using the left function, left. If it is documents, then do a sum of add them all up, using the sum x, and I got that. The same thing with video. The videos started with this double braces on the left and then the word video. So I picked the first 7 characters. That helped me to be able to identify all the videos. The same thing with photos. I had photo on it, so just pick the 7 characters and put some X on it. And of course, I wanted to know how many users on the chart within a particular period. So I wrote these DAX to do that. Sorry, it's not so well formatted. So if the looking at the minimum date on the calendar, so is to look at calculate the max, and just something just tell me that, okay, what's the maximum number of users I have on the chat group as at this time. And of course, I also wrote another measure. These are measures, by the way, in Power Pivot, just like you have in Power BI too. So a measure to also get the joiners to date, joiners in the last 1 month, the first date within the period, the last date within the period, number of posts within that period, and of course for that one, all I needed to just count a column, and of course what percentage are active within the period. So I divided active users, I divided users by the number of active users, and that gives me 9.6%. So now that I have all my measures, the next thing was just to now bring this up. All right. So at the top I have, or before I come to the top, here is the back end of the whole thing. So here's the back end. Here I have a pivot table that picks the top 10, and this top 10 is supposed to appear in this chart. This chart, that's a tree map. So this is a tree map, but this tree map doesn't work with pivot tables. So I needed to just bring it out, and that's the essence of this other column here. And of course, these are all the other calculations that I have. You remember I said I did users, the videos, all of these are from the pivot table. When you create a measure, they appear in the pivot table. As you can see, they all appear here, you see, with FX in the pivot table. So I'm able to use them, in the pivot table, for this. And like we also always say that for every dashboard or report you want to create in Excel, you need at least 3 sheets. 1 sheet to hold the data, and in this case, I don't have a sheet holding the data. The data is in Power Pivot. 1 sheet for your rough calculations, which you are seeing right now. I actually have 2 of them. This is for all my spark lines. This sheet is for all my spark lines, and these are all the calculations. This is top 10 contributors for whichever period I pick. I guess this for one of the charts. These are initially I linked all of these to the scorecards up here, but later I used the cube functions for that, and then this one tells me the trend in a week. This gives me the hours of the day that people are chatting, and I use this for the note. This note that you see here, this note is saying there are 74 active users this period. The group chat mostly on Tuesday, followed by Thursday, and most engaging between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m., followed by 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. So that is what this says. So if I change this to, like I said, I think I have some 2020 data. Great. So for the period for that 2020, I think, let me change this to months. So for January 2020, great. So for January 2020, it says there are 76 active users this period. The group chats mostly on Thursday. You can see that mostly on Thursday, followed by Wednesday, and most engaging between 10 p.m. That's between 10 p.m., which is what you see here. Let me just do this here. Great. Between 10 p.m. followed by 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. So all of this actually linked to this cell here that you're looking at, and this cell is just a lot of calculations, as you can see. The group charts mostly on VLOOKUP, top day, that's looks up from here, and gives me that, followed by a VLOOKUP inside the text, followed by VLOOKUP inside it, and everything becomes text that you are seeing up here. So basically that's how, and of course for these ones, like I said, these are cube functions. Cube functions are very lovely. I really like them a lot, because they help you. Instead of using a pivot table to pull data from your data model, you use cube functions for pulling data from your data model. Let me give you an instance how I wrote this one now for total number of users. All right, so I say equal to cube.
I think your screen is still showing the Power Query. Your screen is still showing just the Power Query.
Oh, I'm so sorry about. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm really so sorry about that. I'm really, really so sorry about that. Okay.
I just quickly say, let me mention it so that.
Oh, so sorry about that. Okay, so let me close the query. All right. All right, you can see the screen now, right?
It's coming up. Yes.
Okay, I sincerely apologize. I sincerely apologize for that. So this is what I was referring to, the calculation sheet. I was referring to this calculation sheet, and then the spark lines. These are the sheets for the spark lines. These are all the spark lines that you see here. These spark lines that you see here, all these spark lines. I have these for them just to show trends over time. And of course, all of these ones are using cube functions. You can see cube value for that, and these are the names. These are the names of the measures that I had created using Power Pivot, and then for the top 10 contributors, I have this table pulling the top 10 contributors. Normally, the table is supposed to look like this. Let me clear the filter from it. Normally, the table will look like this, but I needed the top 10 from here, so I'll just filter that and say filter value for top 10. So top 10 items in message and say okay. So I just needed the top 10, and that top 10, because this type of chart, this tree map does not work with pivot tables. So I had to bring the data out. So I just did an index there for the first one to the last one, and then the large to just show me, what the person has contributed. Using large here because there are times when a person's name mistakenly appears more than once, and it's possible that maybe people have the same name in the chart, so that I can pull the largest one, and of course these are just all the backends that feed into this report. So this one is a note, which, like I was trying to explain, is what I have here, pulling data from different sources into the note, from the time, from the day of the week, and I think from the number of posts and all that. So they keep the group chats mostly on a VLOOKUP will tell me what happens. So I think most of what I needed here were just VLOOKUP, and then I write them inside text to format, in the format I want. Like I use text here to format the VLOOKUP in hour, minutes, AM, PM, for me. So that is basically all of that. The next thing is just to arrange all of this. I was trying to explain how this works. So the cube function, which is the cube value that I have here. So how the cube function works, it pulls data from your data model. Instead of using the pivot table, you can use the cube function to pull data from your data model. So I have the cube value. So cube value. Cube value. All right, so double quotes, this workbook data model, and you close it. And then I need a measure. I'm trying to bring one of the measures that I had calculated already in the pivot table. So I open that double quote. I bring a measure dot. The name of the measure I want to bring is users. So you can see measures.users. So I'm bringing the measure into this scorecard, and I close it. All right. So let me close it first and see how it looks. So it's showing me 771, users to date. But if I change this filter, it doesn't work on it. It doesn't change it because. So I needed to add this slicer. Although this is a timeline, I needed to add the slicer into the cube function. So all I needed to do is just edit that. and says, sorry, timeline. All right, so timeline, date. So that's the name. That's the name of this timeline. I'm sorry, I wish I could go into how I got the name for this timeline, but I can just show that shortly. So that the timeline, the filter or the slicer can work in the cube function, you needed to add that. If it's a slicer, it will be slicer underscore the name of the slicer. If it's a timeline, timeline underscore the name of the timeline. If there are multiple slicer, all you have to do is just add comma, the name of the next slicer, and so on, and then it will work on it. So I close that. You can see it has changed to 724. If I go to November 2019, the number should drop to 613. So that's how it works. So for this one, for this timeline, you can get the name from the properties, size and properties. Oh, no, sorry, timeline. Okay, from here, timeline. So this is the name of the timeline that we gave to it. So this is the name of the timeline. And so with this name, you're able to refer to it. If you write a formula, I've actually not tried it with timelines. Okay, if you even try to write a formula normally in Excel, you will see that the name of the timeline will appear in the list of functions that you're able to refer to, or a named range. The name here is like a named range, that you have. So that's the way the name of the timeline appears. I'm more familiar using slicers with that. This is the first time I'm remembering that I could do the same thing with a timeline. And of course, when you change it, the content of these changes and everything here changes. So that's how this dashboard was built. So sorry if I was too fast. So every time you change it, everything changes. It tells me participation is 29%. These are the top 10 contributors. This is how we have contributed within the month. This is the number of joiners, 87, and so on and so forth. I can update, I will definitely update this before I share it so that you're able to see up to May 2020. I used to share this in a group every month until December 2019. I don't know what made me stop. So thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate the time. Thank you so much, Michael, for allowing us to share our experience and some of this stuff. It's been fun in the last 1.5 hours.
Yeah, in fact, I'm beginning to get more ideas of what to do around cube functions. One aspect of Excel that I have not really been using. So it's also a very wonderful session for me to I've been doing amazing insights of how I can begin to incorporate that aspect too into some interesting things in Excel. Thanks a lot, sir. And for everybody who you still have questions, it's not our fault. I've been posting on the chat. I have question right now too. You will go to the group. Oh, okay, the person is saying thank you.
All right.
Is you are part of the house. So I'm sure in other future sessions that we will beg on you to come, I'm sure you will make out time for us because you have a lot to share, and what you share is really unique. It's different from what everybody that we've been having on this show. Actually, everything they've been sharing has been really unique. So I guess that's the benefit of we bringing people that we know they are unique in different ways. So I'm sure we'll have other opportunities of bringing you to the people again. And thank you once again. And I don't know if you have any last audience before we say.
Well, I just say thank you. Always have the end in mind from the beginning. Please, I will not say that enough. Whatever data analysis project you are taking on, always have the end in mind right from the beginning. So that the design of your data capture tools, the choice of data capture tools, and everything we sync, so that at the point of analysis and reporting, everything will just will be awesome. Makes it very easy actually. So you have to have that broad thinking every time you want to run an analytics project. and work well with your team. Make sure you carry your team along in everything. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it. And of course, I'm sure Michael will share this on YouTube, so we will be able to go over it again. Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to post it on YouTube. So thank you. Bye bye. You
can't
see my hand, but I'm waiting.
Bye bye, Michael. Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Bye.